Hey, welcome to NERDSDAY. I'm your host, Susan Layton, and apparently I'm doing my own introduction this week because my co-hosts Gary and Keith forgot to do so. But that's okay, because maybe we might need a director. So if any of you out there in the viewing audience feel qualified, go ahead and hit us up with your resume in the comments section. And then I'm beginning to think maybe I might need a manager. Just kidding. Hey everybody, this week I wanted to talk to you about one of my hot button topics, reboots and remakes. Yeah, I know, what can we say about them that hasn't been said before? And for anyone that remembers me from Nerdrotic, you know this is my trigger word. However, I wanted to talk about one reboot in particular that kind of spawned a stream of consciousness with me and Gary and Keith. And that is the Nanny reboot. Now, according to Deadline, Fran Drescher was talking about her latest show, Uninsured, and she mentioned that the Nanny was still on the table, that they were in the early stages of, making it a reality, but it might take a while. And they're thinking about a younger cast and everything, and I thought, this is okay. I will survive if the Nanny never makes it to television again. Why? Because it's only 20-some years old, and I liked it when I first saw it, but frankly, where can we go with this? Now, this got me thinking, and it spawned a great conversation with Gary and Keith about why not take properties from 40 years ago that maybe weren't as well known and maybe only lasted 1 to 3 seasons and reboot those. Keith loves Barnaby Jones, so he said he could see Barnaby Jones with Tommy Lee Jones, and I suggested Harrison Ford. Now, for those of you that aren't aware of Barnaby Jones or know what the show's about, it was a 70s detective show with a kindly old gent named Barnaby Jones, oddly enough, and he was played by Buddy Epson, Jed Clampett of the Beverly Hillbillies. Now, this show would be successful because look at the success of Magnum P.I. and Hawaii Five-0. Enough said. Then I got to thinking, what show would I bring back from my childhood? And I came up with The Magician. Now, The Magician starred Bill Bixby, and Bill Bixby was your affable, telegenic sitcom guy from the 60s. He starred in My Favorite Martian and The Courtship of Eddie's Father. And in the 70s, he was in this show called The Magician, where he played an escape artist who solved crimes on the side. And he had this really cool car. It was a green Stingray, and it was exciting. And it's a new premise. We haven't seen this before. So I'm thinking we could literally take that show that lasted 1 season, update, refresh some of the scripts, and bring it to a new audience for a limited series on a streaming network. And it would totally work. Because Now You See Me is a franchise with Jesse Eisenberg and Woody Harrelson, Morgan Freeman. It's all about magic and con games, so there's a market for that. There's also a huge demand now for anthology series, particularly in the horror genre. Now we've got Greg Nicotero's Creepshow coming up on Shudder. We already have Hulu's Into the Dark from Blumhouse. We had the huge success of Mike Flanagan's The Haunting of Hill House. So enough said, we know that this is a viable product that we could give. So why not go back into the vault and bring out Circle of Fear? This was a show from the early 70s that was a horror anthology, and it lasted 1 season. You could, much like The Magician, literally take those episodes, redo them, give them a fresh spin, and present them to today's audiences. And one of the episodes that I remember in particular starred Jason Robards as a park ranger who knew his wife was cheating on him with a colleague. So he killed them, buried them in his shed, And every time he turned on the television set, he would see them rising from their graves to basically come and get him. Now, at the time I was 7 or 8, that freaked me out. So I'm sure if you had a talented director and writer behind that, just imagine what you could do. Another show that came up was Manimal. And I'm looking at you, Dennis Pathalkis, because you've always wanted to reboot this. Dennis was my former co-host at Nerdrotic. Keith would like to reboot it too. But see, the thing that I'm getting at is there's all these possibilities. And if you look at an older show and it has a well-known catchphrase, just say no. I don't want to see what you talking about, Willis, like 40 years later. No. Get these hidden gem properties so that you can present them to today's audiences. Give it a shot. I mean, what do we have to lose? We know reboots and remakes aren't going away. Hey, if you enjoyed tonight's episode, smash that like button, subscribe to us, and I'll see you on next week's Nerds Day.
Please remember to like, subscribe, and comment, as we love to hear back from our viewers. Also, if you enjoy our videos, please consider becoming a patron of our show through Patreon and or GoFundMe. Links are listed below the video in the description. From the deepest, darkest recesses of Dangerous Nerds headquarters, Keith Moncrief and Gerry Kissell.
Hey guys, another episode of Pop Culture Minefield with Keith.
And Gary.
And we're here to talk about some really cool, nerdy, good stuff. We're going to be talking about non-Marvel. We've already done that. We're not going to talk about Game of Thrones today because we did 2 episodes dedicated to just those 2 things.
Yeah.
Today we're going to talk about some fun stuff that's just happened because, as you know, it fell over the weekend that Hobbs and Shaw got Keanu Reeves.
Yeah, that was a big announcement. I don't think they were meaning to put that out there. I think somebody found it out.
And it got out there. But the animosity between Vin Diesel and The Rock showed with this news announcement. What was it?
Vin Diesel revealed.
Oh, that's right.
That John Cena is going to be joining Fast and Furious 9.
So they needed to get a big wrestler to replace The Rock because he will never work with Vin Diesel again. That's a prediction. Those two do not like one another. When The Rock calls you a pussy,
yeah,
you are not going to work with him again. He won't put up with that stuff.
Just look at it. Hobbs and Shaw. You have Dwayne Johnson, Jason Statham, Idris Elba, Dame Helen Mirren, and now you add Keanu Reeves.
That's it. That's a full hand.
Okay? Now, nothing against Fast and Furious, because it's basically everybody you've seen in all the previous movies that aren't Dwayne Johnson, plus John Cena. Now, I'm pretty sure, if they'll probably get Kurt Russell to come back. Although at this rate, if I were Kurt, I'd be asking for some more money.
Or go to the Hobbs and Shaw series.
What makes you think he's not in the Hobbs and Shaw series?
He should be, because Kurt Russell with those guys would be amazing. That would just be amazing, because he's like absolutely one of my favorite actors of all time.
I mean, that's just testosterone incorporated.
It's almost too much to even deal with. Your brain.
You go to that movie just to wash in it.
Yeah.
All this testosterone.
It's those moments where it's like you see it and then you're like this afterward. You just go into a zone. Your brain, nothing wants to work for a while because you're processing everything you just saw.
Yeah.
I just saw Kurt Russell, Jason Statham, The Rock, Dame Helen Mirren, and Keanu Reeves. Oh my God, that is almost what's another word for trifecta that involves far more numbers? I don't know. The trifecta is 3, so whatever that 6 is, the double trifecta. I don't know. It's a double trifecta.
I mean, come on, guys. It's just come on.
Unbelievable. We're still and I got to tell you, after watching Endgame, I really felt like, is this the end of our nerd spring? That this is going to die now? But no, we still got so much good stuff coming at us.
Mm-hmm.
A lot of good stuff.
Well,
we don't know. We're not predicting that
Yeah.
Episode 9 for Star Wars is going to be any good. But I'm just telling you, we still got good stuff coming for us.
Yeah.
And we need to keep it, love it, nurture it. Because
this could be all you're getting.
Yeah, because this could be the very end of this whole thing. So enjoy it while you got it. And with
because remember, how can you have any pudding?
now John Cena. Now I don't know what the relationship between Cena and The Rock is, but I just assume because you never see them pal around during pro wrestling things.
Yeah.
I've never even seen them stand in a ring at the same time.
Well, Rock's busy.
Yeah. Well, even when he was doing the wrestling thing, I never saw those two. So I'm assuming that this is a dig at The Rock getting John Cena. I believe it is absolutely a dig by Vin Diesel. Because, like I said, there's no love lost between those two. And it's like Vin Diesel going, got my own wrestler. Yo. Got a new pro wrestler taking your place. Yo.
Just.
I am Groot.
Yeah.
So, by the way, even with the Endgame being the end of this, well, nearing the end of this phase, we still have Guardians of the Galaxy. We've got to get more.
Oh, we're definitely getting more.
Yeah.
But we can't say any more without revealing Endgame.
Can't say anything.
So.
But we're going to be getting something.
Yeah.
Let's go on to this next one with Phil Lord and Chris Miller, the two gentlemen who were fired by Kathleen Kennedy.
Yeah, he just won the Academy Award for screenwriting and I think Best Animated Film for their Into the Spider-Verse film.
Which was really a good movie.
And they just signed a 5-year, $100+ million contract with Sony to basically create projects, but also to create a few spin-offs.
So
Spider-Verse.
This, and I guarantee you, is on the back of their mind. F you, Kathleen Kennedy. Look what we did, and look at your film and how it did. You should have let us finish the film. You could have had your own Spider-Verse, because basically he reshot some stuff Ron Howard did, but the skeletal remains of what they made was still there, and I honestly think they probably would have fared better. Agreed, I don't think they understood Star Wars. But this was not your traditional Star Wars film. It was a mistake from the get-go. They should have just stuck to their guns and let them finish.
Yeah.
It was a huge mistake on Kathleen Kennedy's part. She ended up doubling the budget, which made the loss even worse to Disney.
And Lawrence Kasdan brought those guys in, so...
Yep. So, it's sad. But they took off, man, and they're killing it over at Sony. Now, again, Sony, this is absolutely, I believe it. He's the one who said it first. Sony's done with Marvel. They don't want to work with the Marvel Universe anymore. This last film with the kid is the last of the MCU with them.
Yeah, pretty much.
From this point forward, after that, it's just going to be all their version of Marvel.
Yeah.
Their
version of Spider-Man universe, really.
Now, but if they do it as well as they did with Spider-Verse, I'm okay with it. I am. But they need to stop getting stupid with the Sinister Six. I triggered him. See that? I triggered him. But they really do. They have tried to set up the Sinister Six twice now and failed both times. They need to stop doing that, and they need to just launch it and stick to what's in the comic books. Don't pull a Laura Schuler Donner and say, don't pay attention to the comic books. Pay attention to the comic books. Now, again, they had a winner with Venom, but there were problems with Venom. Venom needs to exist in the same universe as Spider-Man. It just has to. And
you need better screenwriting.
Yeah.
One of Venom's biggest problems is that the actual script sucked. The story had certain parts of it that were really cool, but it was a little too basic.
Well, the battle, on the street trying to capture him, they weren't even trying to capture him when they knew that he had the parasite.
Yeah.
The symbiote. They knew he had it, but they're trying to kill him. shooting rockets at him was the dumbest thing I'd ever seen. It's like, what are you doing? What, shoot nets at him, try to stun him, but you're not trying to kill him because you could kill the symbiote. But anyway, that's the writing. Again, like you said, it had a lot of weak spots in the writing, but the characters were really good and they were well played, and especially, what's his name, that played Eddie Brock, did a great job.
Mm-hmm.
I really liked him. I didn't think he could pull it off. I was just like, oh man, that English accent.
Tom Hardy can do anything. That's what I think.
I'm now convinced. I mean, it was one thing to pull off playing a young Picard on Star Trek Nemesis.
Yeah, but
this was something else, playing Eddie Brock, and he pulled it off. He nailed it.
If you can be in a movie and hold your own against Chris Pine and turn around and do a movie for Christopher Nolan, of which he's done more than one, and be able to be one of his go-to stars, you've got to have some talent.
He is a very skilled actor. Surprisingly, not as manly as I had originally thought, because Shia LaBeouf kicked his ass in a fight.
That's too bad.
You don't know that story? It was when they did that Moonshine movie with their alcohol runners, and he did something that pissed Shia LaBeouf off when he was drinking, and Shia LaBeouf laid him out. And I'm like, Tom Hardy? That just struck me as odd, but it's true. Hardy admitted to it.
Yeah, that's after Bronson. How can, after a movie
How
like
can
Bronson...
you play Bronson and let Shia LaBeouf knock you out?
Dude!
That's the kid from Holes, man. The kid from Holes knocked you out. And I could see Chris Tucker, like, standing over his body.
You just got
knocked the fuck out.
I know that scene.
See, he thinks like me. We think in movie quotes. It was funny because something happened earlier while we were talking to somebody else, and he actually was in my head, and that was the quote I was thinking of from The Untouchables, and he started doing it, and I'm like, oh my God, that was what I said to the person, was the line from The Untouchables. I want you to burn his house to the ground. I want to piss on his ashes. And he, like, I'm telling you, that's why we're friends. We get each other. So we've got, they've got that 5-year Spider-Verse spinoff. It's $100 million. That's a ridiculous deal.
Yeah, but that's good for considering they're coming off an Academy Award win. These guys can do anything. And I think part of it was also developed for individual projects along with other projects that Sony's going to have them do. They're pretty much going to be Sony's go-to guys for the next 5 years.
This goes back to something that you and I talked about before,
yeah.
Which is when Kevin Feige took over Marvel as the showrunner for the entire film franchise, he was vetted, heavily vetted, before he took over.
Yeah.
And he was given that job after he proved he could do it. That was not how Kathleen Kennedy got her job.
Yeah.
Which is why we've run into the same problem, because she doesn't know how to do what Kevin Feige does.
Yeah.
And she's never been, because she was always a gopher kind of producer.
Mm-hmm.
She was really there to be an in-between and get things, a facilitator. That's the word I'm looking for, facilitator. She was never the person in charge of running things. And she was then put in a position of running things. She'd never run anything her entire career with Lucasfilm, or her work with Spielberg, which again was through Lucasfilm.
Yeah.
I don't know how she got that job. And when you look back on what she did for a living for them, she was a gopher. It's like, how did she get that job? Kevin Feige, on the other hand, learned from two of the best producers, despite our disagreement with them and how they do things. They were makers and shakers.
Yeah.
That's I'm sorry. What's his name?
Richard Donner.
No, not Richard Donner, his wife.
Oh, Laura Schuler.
Laura Schuler Donner, and the other producer from Marvel that everybody hates, you hate, and I hate.
Oh,
I forgot his name.
Yeah.
Ari. He was involved. He was
Oh.
involved with the whole debacle between with the Fantastic Four way back in the 90s.
Yeah. Yeah. Avi Arad.
Avi Arad, that's the guy.
Yeah.
And that's who trained Kevin Feige. Those two people. And he learned everything he needed to know from those two people.
And did the opposite.
And then did the opposite because he was smarter than them. Not nicer, This is the mistake that people keep making with him, that he's a nice guy. No, he's smarter than they are. He's also very passive aggressive.
Mm-hmm.
He says one thing, and he'll nod his head at you, and then will completely stab you in the back when the time comes. He is definitely like the guy who wrote the Game of Thrones books, with killing his characters.
Oh, George R.R. Martin?
Yeah, it's like, I love that character. You like that character? You like that character? I'm going to kill him.
I just think he's incredibly talented. I mean, you have to be in order to ascend to that level.
Well, he understands comics and he loves comics. That is the one thing that endears him to us.
Well, he's one of us.
Yeah, he is one of us.
And he always has been. And the difference is that a lot of people in the business pretty much misunderstood who he was and what he could put behind what he does.
Yep.
Because he was a geek, they never expected him to go very far, and that was their mistake.
Yep.
You know, he's pretty much shown up a lot of people, and he's going to continue.
And he
to
made
show
them
up.
look like idiots.
Oh,
Avi
geez.
Arad in particular, who now only has one real success to his name, and it's not Spider-Man 2, it's Spider-Verse. That is his best success. It got a freaking Oscar. You know? And but Avi Arad isn't really the power behind it. He just gets his name thrown on there.
Yeah.
Yeah. It's another trigger for him, Avi Arad. Because he's getting on some lengthy rants about Avi Arad. I don't like him because of what he did to what's his name? That
Sam Raimi.
No, the producer. Well, I don't like what he did to him, but I really don't like what they did over the Fantastic Four. With
Josh Trank.
With the producer. I can't think of his name right now. Great producer from the 50s and 60s. Roger Corman.
Oh, yeah, yeah.
And lied to everybody. And set up a backdoor deal. And screwed everybody involved with the Fantastic Four. And he went and made his deal with 20th Century Fox. And screwed everybody. Avi Arad is an absolute jerk as a human being. Just horrible. And he's not even really good. He's a successful producer, but he's not a good producer. Kevin Feige, on the other hand, took what they taught him and used it for the right reasons and did the right things with it. And he did what they couldn't do. And, I mean...
And many times over.
Because Avi Arad and Laura Schuler Donner both hold responsibility over why 20th Century Fox failed. Both of them.
Well, I mean, it's hard enough to create a successful film. To do it 23 times in a row over the course of 11 years?
Yeah. I mean, this is what we talk about on the... We talk all the freaking time.
But on Monday's show.
We were talking over the phone now when we were having our chat with Susan. Susan's really getting involved, and I want to get her to where she's doing more with us because she's one of us. We sit and we talk a lot, and we talked for like an hour and a half online, and we talked about how IP, because he brought it up, IPs, intellectual properties, are where it's at. And that's how these studios run, because they're afraid of venturing into new intellectual properties, so they rely on their old intellectual properties to save the day. And almost always they failed. Not always, but almost always they failed in the past. But there are some really good ones that worked. So we were talking about ones that how they could work. And then the three of us decided that we should have our own company and we should go pitch these ideas to the studios and sell them on their own properties.
Well, yeah, at least Disney, it's like, come on, you got Voyage to the Bottom of the Sea.
But they now own Voyage to the entire catalog from 20th Century Fox. They have Land of the Giants. They should have had, but I don't know what's going on because Netflix has Lost in Space.
Well, we know how that works out when Netflix
but
has
I think 20th Century Fox in the end owns the rights to that, don't they?
I think so.
Because they produced that. That's the reason why if you watch Batman from the 60s and you watch Lost in Space, you would see props from both shows going back and forth because they were shooting around the same time. And they would have, like, Mr. Freeze's rifle was a laser rifle from Lost in Space.
Mm-hmm.
You know, lots of little things like that. But Fox has a great catalog. And Disney needs to take advantage of it.
Oh, they will.
And Voyage to the Bottom of the Sea absolutely should be renewed as a whole new series.
That should be a Disney Plus exclusive. If you've even just spent half of what you've already spent on something like The Mandalorian, you could have something special.
Yeah, because Voyage of Bottom Sea was a great character-driven sci-fi, technically post-apocalyptic series.
You think so? Because I thought it was
that was supposed to be part of what was going on.
Yeah, it was supposed to be.
Which is why they were off on their own.
Yeah, 1984 is the year that the series takes place, even though the series ran in the 1960s. It's supposed to be their version of the future, and it was actually a television series based on a film, a feature film that
Barbara Eden was in.
Oh, jeez.
Oh my God! What's Walter Pidgeon? That was it. He played the captain or the admiral.
Yeah. And it again, Disney. This would make a great adventure movie that you could turn into a series,
an ongoing series. Like the first movie is technically the pilot, but you could actually release it theatrically as well as on Disney Plus, and then launch the series off of that, and it would just be brilliant. Kids would eat it up. Adults would eat it up.
This is what Spielberg tried to do in the 90s with Sequest. Sequest is nothing more.
Absolute ripoff of Seaview.
Yeah.
Seaview is the sub's name, and I always thought that was funny that he chose the name Sequest. And the submarine kind of reminded me in a lot of ways of the sub from Man from Atlantis, which was another one we brought up in our conversation.
Yeah.
As a show that could make it as a new series.
Or The Magician.
It never made it past one season. The Magician. I love that show. It got 2 seasons, and the problem was the studio or the network took too much of a push for control of the show, so they changed everything in the 2nd season. And he lived in the house, the magic house, that's a real place where all the magicians congregate. And I thought that was neat that they put that in there. Yeah, but some of the characters that you had from the first season were gone.
Yeah.
That you loved.
Yeah, it always worked.
But it was a great series. It was this guy going out solving crime.
Well, he was a
catching bad guys.
He was a war vet.
He was a war vet.
And in order to handle his PTSD, he learned how to do magic in order to deal with all of that. And
he was not a one-man A-team, but he was a lot like the A-team.
Yeah.
And he would go out there and he would help people that needed help.
And he would use magic to be able to help him solve cases and
problems. Get out of situations.
But the coolest thing, if you were 5 years old back then, was the fact that he lived on a plane. He didn't live in a place. He lived on a plane.
It was always mobile.
Yep.
But then the 2nd season, they wanted him to have the Magician House.
Yeah.
Where is it? In California or Vegas?
Yeah, the Magic House, yeah.
It's like, I've always wanted to go there, never gone. Penn and Teller were the ones who mentioned it the first time I ever heard of it. And I was like, what is this place? I gotta go. And I've never been. It's just such a good series. And they should revamp that. Because the concept was so good, it would work today. Because we have a lot of veterans today. And it would be a great way of talking about veteran issues, talking about post-traumatic stress disorder, and magic. And solving crimes.
Which is what it's really about.
Yeah. I love that show. I love that
Disney could do so much.
Yep.
Because, again, they got this. They pretty much have all of the Buffyverse. So they've got Joss by the scrotum. I mean, they can pretty much just start producing new episodes of Buffy, Angel, and any other thing.
And all they gotta do is, because that show that he's doing, who is he doing that for? The Nevers?
Oh, The Nevers? I think that's a cable series.
Yeah, it's for Showtime or
so.
Cinemax. Cinemax.
Cinemax or Showtime.
Oh, that means there's gonna be some effing going on. Skinemax. It is. No matter what show you get with them, there's gonna be some naked doing stuff. And they stick to their trade. And good stuff, man. I love their shows. The one where he deals with the Amish mafia.
Oh yeah.
What was that show called? Oh my God, it was really good. Oh my God! And then the BBC series of the Special Operations Team, they took it over as a joint venture between them and the BBC.
Oh geez, Counter-Strike.
Counter-Strike, and they restarted. It's terrible now. It's really just stupid. But the original series, that was good. I love the intermix team and everything, the way it worked.
Yeah.
They had great cast. Now they're doing some stupid show and it's getting bad ratings. I've not seen anybody give it a good review. Not one person. I watched the first 10 minutes and I went, I'm done. It was dumbest opening I've ever seen. I'm like, nope, you're done. You can't even get. Your show is only as good as the opening and the ending and the explanation at the ending of what your theme is.
And that's when the Star Trek Discovery came along and went, hold my beer.
Yeah, hold my beer.
Challenge accepted.
We're going to show you suck. Star Trek suck. So, but anyway, we got anything else? Gotham. Oh my God, end of Gotham. My God, I was happy until the last frame.
Yeah.
And then the last frame almost killed it for me, but then I remembered everything that took place before it. Now, I'm going to tell you this. This is my one pet peeve with this, and then I want you to give your 2 cents on the episode. My pet peeve was it felt rushed. It should have been a 2-hour episode.
Yeah.
It shouldn't have been an hour.
Yeah.
It should have been 2 hours. Everything felt rushed, and there was no story.
Yeah, it was all just, hey, look at what's going on.
It's all wrap up. Because I wrote my review previously for the previous episode, I said that was the final episode.
Yeah.
That was the final episode. That was our farewell to young Bruce and young Selena. And what happened the next week, I was right. It's basically
fan service,
and it's a pilot, a potential pilot for an ongoing show. Because there hasn't been since 1966 a live, or 68 technically, since 1968, a live-action Batman TV series, and there should be. And this was proof that they could do it, but my problem was they put no money in that mask. There was no money. The costume was forgivable because it was lit just right. What you needed to see on there was that chest plate and the cape. That's all we needed to see. A hint of a utility belt would have been fine, but it wasn't necessary. What was necessary was to see the chest with the Bat logo and that cape. And then they frame in that last second on that face, and it's got dimples in it, wrinkles, and I'm like, how much money did you spend on that damn mask? Now, your point. Go ahead. Attack it.
You know what? Gotham is one of the best Elseworld series that Warner Brothers has ever put together.
Fist bump on that. I totally agree with you. I think that it is the best live-action Elseworld Batman, or anything related to Batman.
Yeah, I mean, it's even better than, and I know this is going to be sacrilegious to say, but it's even better than Smallville.
And I liked Smallville.
Yeah,
all the way up until the last 2 seasons.
Yeah.
And then it got kind of stupid. I mean, once we lost Lex Luthor, it just sort of lost its gas. It just sort of, we're just going to keep going. But I agree with you. It is one of the best live-action versions of a DC universe I've seen. It's 10 times better than anything Arrow ever put out.
Yeah.
It's 100 times better than Supergirl from season 2 on. I mean, that Kevin Smith episode was one of the dumbest things I'd ever seen. I'm going, Kevin Smith directed this? Fired an RPG from inside a van with driver in the driver's seat? You ever heard of Backblast? I know this isn't a secret anymore about Backblast on an RPG. You kill people with it.
So that's why you need to have someone with a little bit of military experience.
When you're using military equipment.
Yeah. Just
dumb. And the chase scene in it was really poorly done. It was pathetic.
Yeah.
I just thought it was a weak series, and it focused on, what is it we talk about occasionally, the virtue signaling, rather than focusing on story. Story is number one. It's always number one. Story is always number one. If you want to make a point, do like Rod Serling. Make a point, but tell a good story first. And Twilight Zone can't even get that right. So
the current version.
Now, don't get me wrong. There were 2 good episodes, but they weren't strong episodes. I don't think the series is very good. I don't think it's good at all. It's bad. It's virtue signaling with a little story, and they threw off the balance. You have to have balance.
So basically, the 80s CBS revival with such episodes like The Once and Future King is a good example.
I don't even remember it anymore.
Yeah, that is a fantastic episode.
I just added it to my watch list to watch because I don't remember watching any of those in the 80s.
Oh, Bruce Willis.
I just watched that episode and I'm like, oh my God, that was really good.
Yeah.
Oh my God,
And do you know who the showrunner was?
Who?
J. Michael Straczynski. Pre-Babylon 5.
There you go. That's good stuff right there. There you know, there's a love for science fiction. Before you can tell a science fiction story, you have to have a love for science fiction.
J. Michael Straczynski.
And I don't think that, what's his name? has a love for science fiction.
Well, J. Michael Straczynski would be the proper person for CBS to hire to replace Alex Kurtzman. You bring in Straczynski, Straczynski's not gonna put up with it.
I never even considered that. Yeah, could you imagine the guy who started Babylon 5 taking over Star Trek Discovery and all of Star Trek?
That's always been something on his bucket list. He's a big Star Trek fan, a classic Trek. That is his.
Let's start a change.org thing. I'm serious. You and I can do this. We'll just start it and start spreading it, because they need to get somebody in there that knows what they're doing, that understands science fiction, that knows how to write science fiction, and
he'd bring you in a real writer's room.
Yeah, and he would also have real science techs. Next Generation, Deep Space Nine, Voyager, all had science people involved with the show to make sure their science was good. They don't even bother with that shit on Discovery.
It's about how you feel. That's the important thing on that show.
It's all about how you're feeling.
That's your feelings.
My heart.
Your feelings.
I'm going to not explain to you why this person's important to me.
It's not
I just expect you,
anymore. It's your
the
feelings.
audience, to really care about my caring about them.
Care about my feelings.
We're dicks. So, anyway,
I think that's it.
Gotham, good stuff. Smash that like button, subscribe, leave a message, talk about how awesome Keith is, and explain how a fucking loser I am. God, that Gary is such a dick loser. I hate that guy, because we love it. And with that, this is Pop Culture Minefield, and that's Keith.
That's Gary.
And we're out of here. Y'all have a good day now. You hear?
Y'all come back now, you hear?